The spit hit his cheek before the insult finished leaving the officer's mouth. On the blistering steps of Atlanta's 5th Precinct, Officer Mark Hensley sneered down at the black man in the Navy suit. "Men like you ought to know your place," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. The city buzzed around them. Traffic groaned on Auburn Avenue, the sun hammered the sidewalks, and the air smelled of exhaust and fried food drifting from a corner diner. But for a moment, all sound faded. The only thing that existed was the officer's sneer and the gleam of spit sliding down the man's jaw. 2 clerks on a smoke break froze mid-inhale. A woman waiting for her bus clutched her purse tighter. 2 rookie officers nearby pretended to check their radios but kept stealing glances. The man didn't flinch. His hand moved with steady precision as he pulled a folded handkerchief from his jacket pocket. He wiped his cheek clean, folded the cloth, and tucked it away. His eyes, dark, steady, unblinking, locked on Hensley's. "I know exactly where I belong," he said softly. His tone was calm, but there was something beneath it, a certainty that made Hensley's gut twist. The officer scoffed, trying to mask the sudden unease. He stepped back, squaring his shoulders. "Keep walking," he barked, "before I find a reason to throw you in a cell." The man gave a small nod, turned, and walked toward a waiting black sedan idling at the curb. The driver, wearing a gray cap, opened the back door for him. He slid inside without a word, the car pulling away into Atlanta's traffic. The bystanders exhaled. The clerks muttered to each other in disbelief. One of the rookies shook his head slowly. "Damn," said one of the smokers. "He just took it." Hensley laughed, brushing off the tension. "Respect," he muttered to his partner. "That's the problem these days. People don't respect the badge." But what he didn't realize was that respect was about to change sides. The following morning, the 5th Precinct was a storm of activity. The city's new mayor was visiting for his first official tour, and everyone scrambled to look sharp. Floors were mopped, flags straightened, badges polished. The chief barked orders, like a drill sergeant. "I want everyone lined up. Don't embarrass me. Cameras will be everywhere." Officers tightened ties and adjusted belts. Secretaries hurried paperwork into neat stacks. Even the vending machine had been wiped down. Hensley strutted through the chaos with his usual swagger. "New mayors. Just another suit," he told his buddy. "Bet he never set foot south of Peachtree. Probably folds the first time he sees a real neighborhood." Some officers laughed, but half-heartedly. A rumor had been swirling since yesterday about an incident on the steps, though no one dared say it out loud. At 11 sharp, the double doors opened. Silence fell instantly. A man in a tailored Navy suit entered, flanked by aides and reporters. His stride was steady, each step carrying quiet authority. The cameras flashed as he approached the podium near the front desk. It was the same man Hensley had spit on. The chief's voice boomed, shaky with forced enthusiasm. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Mayor Adrian Brooks, the 62nd mayor of Atlanta." Polite applause broke out, uneven and hesitant. Officers exchanged nervous looks. Clerks leaned forward, eyes wide. Hensley felt the blood drain from his face. His mouth went dry. Mayor Brooks adjusted the microphone. He let silence stretch until the only sound was the hum of fluorescent lights. "Good morning," he began. His voice was calm, deliberate, commanding. "I didn't come here for handshakes and ceremony. I came here for truth." He looked across the room, his gaze steady. "Yesterday I had the misfortune of an introduction to this department, not as a mayor, not as a politician, but as a black man standing on your steps." The words hit the room like a stone through glass. Murmurs spread instantly. The chief shifted uncomfortably, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Brooks continued, his voice rising with conviction. "I was mocked, dismissed, and yes, spat on. not by a stranger. In the street. By one of your own. Gasps broke out. Some officers stared at the floor. A few glanced nervously toward Hensley, who stood stiff as stone. I didn't react, Brooks said. Not because it didn't matter, but because I knew this moment would come. Respect isn't proven in anger. It's proven in dignity. His eyes locked on Hensley, pinning him like a spotlight. And dignity will be the law of this city. Silence. Even the air felt heavy. Brooks straightened his jacket, his voice steady as iron. Let me be clear. Respect is not optional. Not for the people you serve, not for the badge you wear, and not for the laws you swore to uphold. This department will change. Starting today. The room erupted in applause. It began cautiously, but swelled into thunder. Reporters scribbled furiously. Young recruits felt fire ignite in their chests. Clerks clapped until their palms stung. For Hensley, each clap was a nail sealing the coffin of his career. The fallout came fast. Body cam footage confirmed everything. Witness statements stacked up. The Civilian Review Board launched a full investigation. By the week's end, Officer Hensley was suspended pending termination. His name splashed across every paper and news feed. Atlanta officer suspended after spitting on new mayor. Mayor Brooks launches police accountability reforms. On the steps of City Hall, reporters crowded Mayor Brooks. Microphones thrust forward, cameras flashing. Yesterday was about one officer, Brooks said, his voice clear and steady. Today is about an entire city. Justice isn't measured by how you treat the powerful. It's measured by how you treat the powerless. And I intend to make sure this department understands that, not in words, but in action. The crowd roared. A woman waved a sign. Respect is not optional. Students chanted his name. Elders nodded, their faces lined with hope. Inside the precinct, change was immediate. Bias and de-escalation training became mandatory. Body cam audits expanded. A whistleblower hotline was created to protect officers and clerks who reported misconduct. The grumbling was loud at first. But the message was clear. Change wasn't coming. It was here. Mayor Brooks walked the neighborhoods himself, shaking hands on porches, standing in church pulpits, listening to young men on basketball courts. Trust didn't return overnight, but people began to believe the city might be turning a corner. Months later, a hall in City Hall was packed with new recruits, community leaders, and residents weary of broken promises. The room smelled of polished wood and new paint. A banner read, "Building a Better Atlanta Together." Brooks stepped to the podium, his words carrying across the hall. "Respect isn't what you demand," he said. "Respect is what you give. It's what you earn. And it's what will rebuild this city." The applause was thunderous. Recruits rose to their feet. Clerks clapped with tears in their eyes. Elders smiled, whispering prayers of thanks. As Brooks stepped down, he thought back to that moment on the precinct steps. The spit, the sneer, the sting of casual cruelty. It had been meant to humiliate him. Instead, it became the spark that lit his mission. Because sometimes dignity is louder than rage. Sometimes the sharpest form of justice isn't revenge, but respect. And sometimes one act of disrespect is enough to rewrite the future of an entire city.